I was just so excited about
Good.
while Josh figures that out. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Shruti Mukund, the Director of Community Engagement here at Albany Theatre. No one writes family dramas quite like American playwrights, and Appropriate is a powerful new entry in this enduring tradition. What the Washington Post called the family destroyed by its secrets, in this lineage of works like All My Sons, Fences, and August, Osage County, the play moves through familiar ground before erupting with startling intensity. I won't say more about that because you need to watch it. But for now, join us and join Artistic Director Jason Loewith, who also directs the play, with veteran DMV actors, Foucheux, Craig Wallace, and Erika Rose for a behind-the-scenes conversation on how these landmark plays paved the way for this gripping new work. So let's welcome them, and thank you all for being here.
I wouldn't trust these, but you guys are all really good with the voice. So. Yes, please. Anyway,
Use our voices.
use your words, Rick. Use your words. Oh, all right. Oh, thank you, Samba. Test, test. Oh.
Do I turn it?
Yeah.
Maybe it's that one. Maybe it's that one.
Not this. Okay.
Test. Oh, good. I like having control of the microphone anyway. Hey, thank you guys. Thank you three so much. How many of you have seen Appropriate so far? Oh, how many of you have seen it? Let me ask, how many of you have seen it here? A couple. And how many of you have seen it here or elsewhere? Great. Okay, so a lot of you know what we're talking about. A lot of you don't. Perfect. There will be so much education you can't bear it. After an hour, you're going to think you deserve a PhD in American dysfunctional families. Although I know some of you have already earned that PhD. We're going to talk for a little bit, and then there'll be a Q&A that'll follow with these amazing performers, and we'll be over in about an hour. So, but let me just quickly tell you about these folks, and really quickly, because you can read about them in your programs. I realized I didn't have bios for you all, but then I was like, I think I'm just going to almost do it from memory. But no, then I wrote it down. So, alphabetically speaking, a 4-time Helen Hayes Award winner, the versatile Rick Foucheux has tackled roles from the boisterous Tevye in Fiddler on the Roof, and he's going to do a little fiddler for us this afternoon. No. To many others. He retired from the stage, sadly, in 2017 at the apex of the theatrical canon that many people feel in King Lear at avant-garde. But before his retirement, I'm sure many of you remember it from Awaken Sing Here as family patriarch Jacob Berger, in my very first season, to Cabaret at the Salesman, Catamount Hot Tin Roof, Talents, Folly, many more. Anybody other favorites of his want to shout out? Or you're like, who's that guy? So, all right, I'm not going to embarrass you. Everybody remembers you, kind of. Okay. Erika Rose is one of my immediate left and one of my very favorite actresses. 2-time Helen Hayes Award winner. I first saw you in Clybourne Park at Woolly Mammoth, and I was like, oh my God, she's really, really good. She was also in An Octoroon, right, at Woolly, which is a play by Brandon Jacobs Jenkins, who also wrote Appropriate. You'll have seen her in Here They Are. Here There Are Blueberries at Shakespeare Theater, Fences at Ford's, Queen's Girl in Africa at Mosaic, and I want to also see it at every man episode of that performance. So and many more, and we will have many more, I'm sure. And last, the tenor, the counter tenor, Craig Wallace over there, that very high voice of his. Of course, a legend here in the DMV, a National Players alumnus. Here you saw him on this very stage, hopefully many of you, in Proof with Don Ursula, another great American family play, and Ink for Us, and a co-production with Roundhouse. He's tearing it up every year as Scrooge at Ford's. But for this conversation, he's also was a Willie Loman, a Troy Maxon from Fences, lots and lots to discuss. So these folks are pretty amazing. Thank you. Thank you for joining. Let me set the table really quickly, and then you'll each have 2 minutes to talk, and then we'll have Q&A. As Shruti was talking, Shruti was saying, as I was doing some research for this panel, and I came across Peter Mark's review of Appropriate from 2013 in its Woolly Mammoth production, which was the year after it opened. And he called, and he reviewed the play very well, and he called The Family Destroyed by Secrets as our universal theatrical heritage. So I told him that we were going to use that as the title of our panel, and we were not paying him royalties, and he's suing us now. But some of you may or may not know, Appropriate was written in 2000, actually, 11-12, as a direct response to August Osage County. And a direct response is a Black playwright responding to August Osage County, which was written by Tracy Letts, an Oklahoman, and a white guy. And so this play, and if you see August Osage County as a family, how many of you have seen August Osage County? Hopefully the play, not the movie. Okay, this is like, that family makes this family look like calm and collected in appropriate, I think.
Sure.
But, oh my goodness, we actually discovered, after the show, after you see it, I'm going to tell you what the original script of Appropriate had. It was, and we got a copy of it, and it was very much August Osage County. Yeah. Anyhow, our contemporary theatrical heritage is very much informed by these plays, especially that started in the 1930s. Clifford Odets, in writing with the group theater, Harold Clurman, all of those very famous people like us. Clifford Odets, who wrote Awake and Sing, one of the first real American family plays, a play very much about class, about a Jewish family struggling with issues of class and immigration issues. Moving on to Death of a Salesman in the 1940s by Arthur Miller, a play also about, a play very much about capitalism. You continue on through, think of the amazing plays of August Wilson in the 1980s. Before that, plays of Tennessee Williams, Lorraine Hansberry's A Raisin in the Sun, All My Sons, so on and so forth. This is a long trajectory of plays in the American theatrical tradition. They all deal with complex dynamics. They deal with hidden sins revealed, which begins to ask the question about what do we inherit, how do we inherit, how do we break an inheritance, how do we break a legacy, which is very much on the mind of this play. And of course, all these things, all those things allow us to reflect on issues of social justice, things like income inequality, things like race relations and racism, sexuality, nationhood and belonging, many, many, many more. I decided when we were putting this together, this panel together, that I wanted to actually talk to actors who have been in these plays. Because I think these plays, unlike many that are, can be sort of crazy or be all about effects or that might be musicals in which the music really takes the starring role. For these plays to work, you need actors to bring to real life these characters in all of their complexity, right? One of the things that unites the characters that we're talking about, Willie Loman, Troy Maxon, Violet Weston in August Osage County, all the characters in Appropriate, is that they are deeply flawed individuals, but actors need to imbue these deeply flawed individuals with so much humanity and truth that you as an audience member have a reason to sympathize with them. Does that make sense? Because if not, then we don't care. We just go, oh, this is a villain and that's the hero and that's it. These are plays in which heroes and villains are not, there is not a clear distinction between the two. So talking to actors who first have to tackle that question for themselves, how do I take on a role that may be difficult to grapple with in terms of morality, in terms of my own personal feelings, I thought would be an interesting way to start. And also people just love hearing from actors. How did you learn all those lines? By the way, training for anybody who goes to a talkback. First of all, if you have ever asked that question, how did you learn all those lines? I hereby absolve you. Now, never ask that question again. That is a question no actor ever wants to answer.
Because the answer is we don't know.
So yes, on to the panel. Let's talk about your experience playing in some of these classic American plays. Craig, can I start with you? I mean, you have such a long list. You've played in such a long list of great classic American plays and American family plays. I would love to just talk to us perhaps about one of your favorite roles in this genre and one of the most difficult roles to find your way into in this genre. And I'm going to pass you my.
Well, can you all hear me?
Yeah.
So I don't need to. Well, I think about Fences and I think about Troy, and Erika and I were in the show at Ford's. And you know, my wife and I were talking about this today about, you know, because for August, this was his Death of a Salesman. Troy was his Willie. And it's so interesting that I don't think, and you played Willie, so I don't think she knew about the woman in Death of a Salesman. Do you think? No, I don't think she did. And yet, Troy admits that he's seeing another woman, and then tells her that he's not going to give her up, that he can't give her up. Now talk about family dynamic. And then he gets the woman pregnant, and he brings the child home, because no matter what I did, she's dead, and we got to raise this baby. And oh my God, tell them about the scene where I bring the baby.
I mean, I don't even know what to say about it. I mean, what do you do, right?
Talk about flawed characters.
Yeah.
She says that I'll raise the baby, but me and you are done. And people just cheered for Erika every night. And here I am. She walks in the house, and I'm on stage, and I'm just like, oh my God, will someone please love me? But you know, like this idea that you know, Troy works so hard, and he works so hard, but he can only get so far ahead. And then he goes outside of his home to be someplace where he feels like he has some agency and some strength. That's his, I'm not saying that that's right. Sure. I'm just saying that that's his perspective. And talk about secrets. I mean, that's a huge secret. And then they have to navigate that, which they end up doing somehow.
Yeah. I remember people, so they cheered, yes, right? At that moment you spoke about, but they were also like, but wait, but why did she say yes at all?
Yeah.
Some people couldn't even get to that. Yeah.
And then there's a great scene with I forget his name, Corey. Yeah. There's a great scene with Corey where Corey doesn't want to come to Troy's funeral, and you have to school him. Mm-hmm. So even through the betrayal, the family still stays intact. Mm-hmm. The legacy of the family still stays intact.
Right. This is what we were given. We have to figure out how to navigate it somehow. This is, you know, this is what our life looks like. This, you know, move forward.
Now, a difficult one for me was
Before you go on, can I actually ask a couple questions about Fences?
Yeah.
So Fences was, pardon me, I think written in 1987, and you guys did it at Ford's in, I want to say in the teens, 2000 teens?
Yeah, 2019.
2019.
Yeah.
So almost, well, that's a lot of math, 30 plus years later. So it's not surprising to me in 2019, people would be like, hey, why is she even taking that baby? Mm-hmm. Is that, do you think doing, and this, again, you all have now done plays long after their premieres, do you think that the time difference of like what the audience was seeing in 1987 and thinking about these characters versus 2019 is different? Or certainly Willie Loman from 1940, I forget, eight something like that, to whenever you guys played these roles. I mean, is the time thing different?
I do think it matters. You know, I was really scared of this role. I was terrified. I wasn't sure if I was ready. You know, I was in my head. But I thought I have to figure out why Rose makes this choice for herself. But also I was thinking about what audiences would be thinking about. 2019 minds. Can I give them a reason why this happened that they could maybe not say yes to, but understand anyway? I'm not sure I achieved it, but I thought about that quite a lot. But then, you know, if you think that things have changed that much, I mean, you know, I've had an elder pass away in my family, and come to find out, I have 2 aunts, you know, 2 new aunts, right? Like, and some of the family members knew about it, and they're like, I knew, you know, we knew. On their deathbed, they said this, and you know, so like we're all holding still. There's nothing so different about the family we saw then and now. And so people want to say like, I would never, but people do. Like, you just don't know that it's happening in your family right now, you know? But I struggled though to try to figure out how to say yes for myself and what it meant for me.
Also, the world is not that big. You know, back then, it's not like you could, I'm gonna get a job as a secretary, or I'm gonna find new. So you cling to, for better or for worse, you cling to your family.
Yeah.
And because that's actually where you live and where you grow from. So I think there's a little bit of that.
Fences is I'm sure you all know about the century cycle that August Wilson wrote one play for each decade in the 20th century. I think this was the 50s. Fences?
Yes, 56, 54, yeah. Mm-hmm. There's something that you just said that made me think about, you know, you got the pig, you give the guts to African Americans, and we make something delicious out of it. But like, you know, life can throw you guts, and then what do you do? What do you do with the guts? You can make it beautiful. You can make it one. So like, she takes this child in, she says yes because she has to, but also raises this girl, this little girl. She didn't have a little girl, she had a little boy who she raised up, but she gets to raise this little girl. And whatever she was navigating, this is a human being on this earth that she was in care of, that her faith, you know, helped her understand was the most important thing to do, to be with, you know. And there's joy in that. You can find joy. You can find meaning and purpose in so many dark things. So that was useful for me when I was playing that role.
Challenging role, you were about to say, and then we'll make Rick speak.
Oh, please, keep them going. I'm into this.
I found I got a chance to play King Lear. Clearly, I was too young to do it, but I got a chance to do it. It was really fantastic. But the family dynamic in King Lear is really, really, really challenging. You know, the idea is interesting because I just read a version of it, an adaptation of it, that had the mother of the daughters was very prominent. And that struck me as interesting because in Lear, there is no mother. And because there is no mother, here's a father that has to raise these girls, and he doesn't know how to. And just the notion that Lear had to go through all that he went through to discover what true love is. And when he realizes it, he's dead. And I was always, so it wasn't really difficult, but I was always moved by that. That's what a true tragedy is that the thing that he discovered that could save him is the last thing he discovered, and then he's gone. And you can speak to this because you've played it as well.
Yeah.
So it wasn't really difficult, but it was a lot to wrestle with, especially because, you know, I have another 15 years before I should really actually do it. You know, I teach class, and I often steer my students away from roles that are beyond them because they haven't lived it, which means that they can't really fill it. They may be able to speak it, but you know, you have to live that life in order to bring it and flesh it out. So I hope I get a chance to do it again.
If only you knew an artistic director who would give you that chance.
Well,
I don't know where I'm gonna be in 15 years. You can be anywhere. So Rick, talk to us a little bit, same sort of question, in this genre, and certainly speak to King Lear if you like too. But interestingly enough, most challenging roles, most roles that you felt most comfortable in, that fit like a glove for you in this world. I mean, I have from that. Well, you're from Louisiana, yes.
Louisiana,
Big
right.
Daddy was Big Daddy. I don't know, but you remember Cat on a Hot Tin Roof.
Right there,
Yeah, there's a.
You know, when I was watching.
You're a much better grandfather, by the way, than you personally than Big Daddy is.
Yeah, that's right. The no-neck
Who
monster.
calls the grand?
Get those kids out of here. When I was watching Appropriate the other night, it occurred, and knowing that we were going to be here for this discussion, it occurred to me that family drama is a redundant phrase. It's like, if you say to someone, here's my automobile, or, oh, look, here's my breakfast bowl of Cheerios. But and no wonder playwrights are drawn to it. And why we are drawn to it, because everybody recognizes someone in the cast, no matter, I mean, I know you all have had the most perfect families that ever lived, but you probably know someone who didn't, and there's always a black sheep, right? There's always a problem child. There's always someone who felt he or she has given too much and is not being repaid what they thought, So I think the idea of family drama, it's the conflict is built into it. The conflict is built into it, And by the way, you're not too young to play Lear, I mean, you can go batshit crazy at any point in your life. And that's basically what happens, right? I mean, yeah, there is some family stuff there, certainly, but these daughters are forced to watch their old man go nuts and decide how much they had to contribute, how much they contributed to that. And so as far as most challenging, I would turn it around that to say Lear and Willie Loman had a brilliant amount of opportunity, to discover as an actor. You can, in both of those roles, you can get the highs and the lows of humanity and what it means to be a person, living in the world. I think Lear's nobility is a little elevated from Willie's, but even Willie had good intentions at the beginning, So instead of looking at it as most challenging, what I grooved on in playing those roles, and Tevye, and Big Daddy, it's just the meat,
When you take on any of those roles, Willie Loman in Death of a Salesman, Big Daddy and Cat on a Hot Tin Roof, Troy Maxon and Fences, any of these plays that are relatively old, is the anxiety of influence, which is to say the fact that it's been played by that famous actor and that famous actor over all these years and is well known for this, that, the other. Does that play into how you approach these roles, or do you just go, no, I'm gonna take it on my own, I'm gonna do my own thing, I'm not gonna worry about it?
I won't speak for everybody, but I think it's best to brush that off and
Yeah.
approach every role as if it's new.
Never been done before.
Because there's always going to be somebody in the audience who has not seen Death of a Salesman.
That's true.
There's going to be someone in the audience who has not seen Cat on a Hot Tin Roof.
and it's why these plays endure.
Yeah.
Because every actor brings a new life and and every artist, every director, every designer, we dust these plays off and we create them anew.
Yeah.
I actually don't look at any other. I've never seen the Denzel Washington Fences. And I have the DVD at my house.
But do you have a DVD player?
I do have a DVD player. But I mean, like,
you're old enough to play King Lear then.
You know, and I said I'm just not gonna watch it because I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
I want us to do us.
Yeah. It came out like 7 months before we did ours.
Yeah.
I feel like it was,
Yeah.
was it Denzel and Viola.
And Viola,
Yeah,
yeah.
right. Like 7 months before we started rehearsal, and I was like, no, please. But I didn't watch it. I couldn't do it. You know, but everybody's like, oh, you're gonna do Rose? Oh man, Viola. She was crying when she was done. And she was like, okay, great, okay. But you don't know how you're gonna react when your loved one comes to tell you. Okay, this is what I was thinking about. When you think about these great, huge tragedies, and yeah, the snotting and the crying and the throwing things and the whatever. But when people think back, often when I hear people talk about where were you when something was going on, it's always something so mundane and simple that's happening. And maybe it's not even till after. It's like, I just sat there frozen when this thing happened, or you know. So like to understand that the most tragic moments of our lives could also be quiet. That if I don't get in my head that I'm supposed to do what Viola Davis did or whoever else has played Rose amazingly, fantastically, you know, that the range of opportunity, to use that word, the choices is so much grander and more human, because we think it's all these fireworks, but like when we're watching fireworks, everybody's quiet. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like sometimes. That's all I have to say.
Yeah. The great things growing from tiny seeds, I think, is very important. I read a wonderful story given by Arthur Miller about his uncle, on whom he based Willy Loman, right? Yeah. And the story goes that he went over to his uncle's house one afternoon to borrow a shovel, and his uncle is sitting in the garage, whittling, you know, and there's a shovel hanging on the wall behind him. And Arthur Miller says, hey, Uncle, I was wondering if I could borrow your shovel. And he says, I don't have a shovel. No, sorry. Nothing. And out of that one seed of just how can a person be like that? And Arthur Miller said he thought it was because the uncle had always resented Arthur's family, you know. But he was so nonchalant about it. No, I don't have a shovel. You know, it seemed to me like, as you said, a mundane moment, but it meant a lot, obviously, to Arthur. And then years later, when Death of a Salesman had its premiere on Broadway, the uncle came and was in the lobby, and Arthur came out, and they shook hands, and whoever the uncle's son was, based on, call him John, just for the sake of discussion, you know, Arthur's, I mean, here's this brilliant play. He comes out and he shakes his uncle's hand, and his uncle says, John's doing really well, by the way. You know?
Wow. Yeah.
So, how do these playwrights take these flawed human beings and turn them into majesty?
Let me ask you, Erika, you said something interesting when you were talking specifically about fences, but it's a question that I have about all of these dysfunctional family plays. And you were talking about secrets. People watch these plays and go, "Oh, I would never," or "My family would never," or "We would never." But we also, as artists, choose to do these plays because we know, we all would do it, right? So, and I've been thinking a lot about that with Appropriate, and the folks that have come and that are and that will be coming. We've had a lot of interesting conversations about how much laughter there is in that play. This is a play in which a lot of, if you haven't seen it, I can tell you, he has written this play with a lot of wonderful laugh lines. It's kind of hilarious, but it's also incredibly dark and difficult. And sometimes when people are laughing, you're like, wait, he's kind of indicting all of us too, and trying to remind us, especially if you are a white audience member in particular with appropriate, like, don't be so sure you're superior to these characters. So anyway, what does it feel like to be, or what does it feel like? That's a terrible thing to say. But can you talk more about this idea? Do you ever talk about that? Like, do audience member, the disconnect between an audience member saying, oh, that was great, that character was so pathetic and has nothing to do with my life, and the reality. Is this making any sense?
Yeah.
I don't know how to talk about it.
Yeah, no, neither do I. Talkbacks really scare me. I really do. They do. Yeah, I'm so nervous right now.
Right now?
Yeah, right now.
Tell me
Absolutely.
what color pants you're wearing.
Black.
See, that's easy.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you, Jason. Yeah. Well, talking about the process is difficult for me. I think that's why. Like Craig, you were just like, yeah, remember this moment, Erika, in Fences, when this thing happened? And I was like, man, good job, Craig, keep talking, Good
Well,
job.
can I just say something though?
Yeah.
While you gather your thoughts.
Okay, thank you.
Erika's being modest about her portrayal of Rose. She was brilliant. And just to speak to what you were saying about, I would never do that. In the confession scene, where I confess about seeing the woman, I can't remember her name.
Yeah, well, I don't remember either.
Because
Because I don't want to remember.
Yeah.
Nor would you want to.
Yeah.
The way that Erika / the character Rose received that information and then responded to it was brilliant. Every night I felt like such a jerk. Craig felt like, Erika and I are close. We're good friends. So we use that, I think, in the doing of the play. But my point is that in that moment, what August wants you to do is go, how would I react? Not, I would say this, but in that moment, he wants you to go, wow, what would I say? And then we watch her react, and then we don't judge her, but we go, damn.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's what a good play is, where it's not so quick to make the snap judgment. When you see it in front of you, when you see the scene play out, you sort of go, And I think the cheer from people at the end when you say you'll take the baby was not so much an indictment of you, or even maybe a little indictment, but they were so happy that you had the strength to make that decision, which I think keeps people from making a snap judgment.
That's good.
So I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No,
but
you
I
did
just
not.
wanted to.
You did not.
Did it give you enough time to collect your thoughts?
Yeah, right.
Well, no, I was listening to you, so I wasn't thinking. Yeah, I really appreciate that, Craig. Sometimes it's different on the inside, what you're navigating as an actor. You think you're on stage, so you want to be seen, you want to be heard, but I'm usually saying someone else's words, they're not mine. And you're not privy to the process I go through in order to create this person that you see. I don't talk to you about the mess that was made in the room, or the ways, like all the walls I had that kept me from maybe making the clearest choice. I think I'm remembering Rose being really difficult for me, but I think my perspective isn't based in what was perceived. I think that's part, like what people actually took in. It was about how tricky that role was for me. Okay, so you were saying something about, you choose to do these plays. I'll say yes to a play if it's a stretch for me, if it's something that would give me, something to do to kind of work out, But I also want to know that I know something about it. There's something about a moment in the play that I understand and feel viscerally, but that can't fool me into thinking that I actually understand that moment, because that's a trap if I think I know what it's supposed to be. But I think because the role was so iconic, And I didn't see Viola do it, but because it was so iconic, I think just like, and it was my first August Wilson play. I'll also say that. Yeah, forgot about that. I didn't do it in college. I went to the University of Maryland, College Park. A lot of colleges in the area and around the country. If you were a Black student at a university, you were a Black person in a play that was a white play, probably. We didn't do a lot of Black plays. Didn't do Black plays till I left school. And so I think I was meeting a lot of firsts, and there was a lot of fear, I think I had going into it. But I knew something about what Rose was experiencing. But I also think knowing something about what they're experiencing can be a trap, because then, how do you separate yourself, your own experiences, or your mother's or your sister's or your auntie's experience from Rose's experience? What can you use? What can you distill that is pure, but without judgment or like direction? I think that's a really tricky balance for me as an actor, to figure out what I'm using. And so when you talked about like playing, or that scene where you come home and tell me, there's a part of me that was like, oh, I wish I could just like wipe my mind and really not know what he's gonna say every night. But I know what he's gonna say, and everybody knows what he's gonna say, and they're waiting to see how I react to it, But I was like, to try to stay present and to just listen and see if something else happens. You know what you have to say, but you don't know, I don't know how he's gonna say what he's about to say to me. I don't know how he's gonna tell me, how he's gonna choose to divulge this huge information. And if I'm paying attention, then I was able to see the twists and turns and this, something, another element, which would change my reaction. But for sure, it was hard to not like gear up.
That's really hard to do. I mean, not just to speak about the craft and art of acting, you always know more than your character does. I mean, overall, in terms of the journey of the character and moment to moment, as you said, and how to keep that fresh. And it's been we had an interesting conversation with Appropriate in this play. Are you an outside-in actor, or are you an inside-out actor? That's a very simple way of talking about process. Are you somebody that's like, here's how I'm thinking about how I'm going to deliver that line. We think of British actors a lot as being very outside-in actors. They think about how they want their performance to look, feel, sound, versus, and this is gross generalization, American actors being more inside-out. I'm going to find it on the inside, and then that will make whatever performance happen. We happen to have in this cast, and I think I can say this because we've talked about it a lot in rehearsal. Cody Nickel, who plays this is a play about three siblings, Tony, Bo, and Franz, or Frank. Cody plays Bo, the middle child, and he thinks of himself very much as an outside-in actor. Kimberly Gilbert, who plays Tony, thinks of herself as a very much inside-out actor. And watching the two of them navigate exactly what you were talking about from day to day has been fascinating, because there are ways in which I am seeing Cody try to deliver the same performance every night, not in a bad way at all. Don't let that sound bad. Like the consistency I have figured out, this is what I'm going to do. Kimberly, on the other hand, because she's it's all about connecting to the other two very much in here. If she hears something different, she'll do something completely different. So then Cody has to adjust. So that's exciting to watch.
Yeah, it's very cool. Yeah.
But that's an interesting point too, that, you're doing a family drama, you're going with the playwrights concept, but you're also part of the family of your cast and your director and the people who are working to create this world, and that means a hell of a lot, I think. It's so brilliant to think that when we come together to do a play, we have maybe 8 weeks together. If we're lucky, we have 4 weeks of rehearsal and then maybe 4 weeks of a run. And so because we know there's an out, I think we tend to get even closer because it's safer. If I reveal too much, so what? I won't have to see these people in 9 weeks. I'm looking over at Kim Stratt.
Why are you laughing so much? It is so hard, Kim.
Kim and I did those wonderful Apple family plays. There were 4 of them. And I think by the time we got to number 4, it was a different experience. I mean, It was all good. It was all great. It was great material. But by the time we got to working on number 4, we had become a family. Yeah.
Kim, pointing out Kim, which is so great. Ladies and gentlemen, Kim Trafford. You could also be on the panel. I thought about it, but we have a nepotism clause in our panel discussion. No, we don't. But seriously, thanks for bringing that up. I want to move on before we go to a Q&A to what is the legacy more recently, even more recent than August Wilson, but looking at things like Richard Nelson's Apple Family plays, looking at Lydia Diamond and Stickfly, a very strong entry into this canon. Even more recently, Fat Ham by James Lloyd James. I'm thinking about the Mother play, Paula Vogel, Mother plays by Paula Vogel. I would be interested to hear from you guys, maybe, I'm not trying to pick on you, Erika, but because Stickfly is such an extraordinary opportunity for you, an extraordinary performance from you. How do you see the development of the American Family play in any way when you do Stickfly, when you do the Apple Family plays, when you do any of these more recent, say, 21st century plays?
I don't know the Apple Family canon, so I can't speak to that. But Stickfly was about an upper middle class family. They were Black elites, and I don't know. You mentioned Raisin in the Sun earlier, comparing those two stories. I don't know. So today we get Lydia Diamond writing a play about the Black elite. I don't know. I don't know what other plays 30, 40 years ago.
It's already really
featured. Yeah. So this family, they had a home in Martha's Vineyard, and my character was from a socioeconomic background that was kind of depressed. Her father was wealthy, he was an academic, but he disowned them, didn't want anything to do with them because she was a love child. But she's now dating someone in this wealthy family, and she is struggling with the class difference between them. And that's not something that I had seen on stage before, watching Black people navigate that. I've experienced that in my life. So it was really, really cool. There's another word besides cool, but it was cool to see it. That story was worthy, and it also felt like a quiet conversation. That because it wasn't on like a national stage, it was something that I experienced in my life, but it elevated the story. It's fascinating that you think people are in a group together, any group we can talk about, but class is such a big deal in any group, and it can be really painful as you're trying to ascend, to be valued, to be recognized, and how people express their wealth and whether or not you ever actually gain access. So all of those themes they were thrilling to experience. And then, watching in this play in Stickfly, I was a girlfriend of one of the brothers in the family, and the other girlfriend was a white woman, and she fit into this family dynamic better than I did, my character. And so that was also it was great. It was really good. If you get a chance to read it, you should.
It's such a good play. And I think I'm glad that you bring up that other character, because questions of intersectionality, which is a word that has too many connotations at this point in our culture, but how various different identities people can have a number of different identities, not just one. Don't think of me just as XYZ. Don't think of me as X, think of me as XYZ. I think that is something that is very different about 21st century American family plays, to a degree. Not all of them, of course, but Stickfly is a great example of that. Yeah. Apple Family plays, I don't know, Rick, do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Well, I think the thing about modern family plays is the whole theatrical experience of doing them, watching them, has really developed along with our TV and movie watching. We expect a naturalistic kind of thing, and when we get something different from that, as only the theater can provide, it's eye-popping. But I thought.
Do you think that's why I'm sorry, I don't mean to jump the question, but thinking of something like August Osage County and even appropriate, that you might almost call it the insanity. One of the things I love about appropriate is that it takes that trope of appropriate. It takes the trope of revealing hidden truths and like reveals 7 of them in a row in the space of about 30 seconds, each one more dramatic and bananas than the last. Do you think that that is playwrights looking at TV and being like, wow, I have to be more dramatic because there's so much drama on TV?
Yeah. Who knows? I mean, what's more dramatic than Long Day's Journey into Night? You know, I mean, that's not a modern play, but
Well said.
I mean,
Well
talk
said.
about naturalism. Jeez, he invented it, you know.
Yeah.
What I liked about appropriate was the way the elephants at the end with the clowns. That's really.
Did you like them? I thought I did well with them. I thought I cast really good elephants. We don't have any elephants in the play. I'm sorry, I have a question from the audience, I think. Oh, we've talked a lot about the patriarchs and the matriarchs. What about playing the usually adult children? Another redundancy and oxymoron. Do you want to say more? Whoever asked me that question, Josh?
So that's the question I would ask.
Well.
So I mean, we've covered sort of the Troys and Lilies and stuff, but I think appropriate is so much about what the adult children get from that inheritance. Can you talk a little bit about your experience on that?
Inheritance and legacy.
Yeah, what you do with it, yeah.
Yeah. And you know, you're no matter how old you get, you know, for your family, you're still age 6, or you know, so that I think that's one of the most tragic things of the human condition. This will come as news to all of you, I'm sure, is that we get older, and and yet there are some things that we hang on to, and when we're around people that we were drawing our original roadmap with, we go back there, I think.
You know, in Jitney, August Wilson's Jitney, Booster, who's the son, gets into some trouble and is sent to jail, sent to prison, and it breaks his mother's heart, and he dies. And Becker, the father, can never forgive him. And so he gets out of prison, and he wants to have a relationship with his father, and his father just won't have it. And it's a huge struggle between them because, you know, Booster's saying, here I am, it's a second chance. I loved Mom just as much as you did. And Becker is so hurt by it that, and they never reconcile because Becker ends up dying. But Becker runs a cab stand, and he ends up taking over the cab stand. So even though his father never forgave him, that love never went away. And he ends up, you know, not becoming his father, but, you know, embracing the legacy of his father.
Just to quickly say, you immediately remind me of Kim's Convenience, which we did here, and a number of plays that we've been reading. We've been reading a lot of plays about immigrant families in which the rejection and then eventual embrace of the parents' legacy is part of the storyline. Sorry, I didn't mean to distract.
But you know, I mean, just think about that as a family dynamic. That, you know, this isn't a stepchild; this is your child. But because of this one thing, that you can't find any common ground. You know, the pain of that, I think, has to be immense.
Speaking of children, so the character I was talking about in Stick Fly, the similarities between her boyfriend's father, who was an academic, and her own father were pretty Well, she wanted love from her father. That's what she was searching for. That's what she was looking for. She wanted acceptance. She wanted love, and she also had judgments about her father abandoning her. So there's so many ways in which, and I think in the play she actually she speaks about it. But there's so many ways in which this roadmap that we're functioning from has us making choices in small interactions, and farther down the road, like huge life choices. So it was really interesting to watch this character implode. She wanted nothing more than to be really close to her boyfriend's father and to gain his approval. But she was also doing things that kind of, chipped away at it. She was creating firestorms in the room she was in because she was also wounded. So it's interesting that the people that we're trying to grow into or trying to mimic or trying to stay away from, that somehow like all that stuff is still in the mix and directing some of these character steps. It's a beautiful train wreck.
The precursor to all of these American family dramas is, of course, the naturalism of particularly Henrik Ibsen, writing in the 1880s and 90s in Norway, who, when you hear us talk about naturalism, which is to say plays that feature realistic psychological relationships between characters, Ibsen very much invented this idea of a family in which there is a hidden secret, and the sin of a parent is transferred to the child. Very clearly in his play called Ghosts, it is actually literally syphilis that a parent ends up having given a child. So the question of legacy is one that has obsessed dramatists and family dramas for a long time. And I'll say with appropriate, I feel like Brandon Jacobs Jenkins does something. If you haven't seen it, I will say, look out for this, probably to me the most important speech of the play, which is a speech given by the 13-year-old girl. And she's talking about cicadas. If you haven't seen the play, I don't want to give too much away, but she talks about, she wonders how it is that baby cicadas who have never met their parents learn the song they sing. And that little speech is all about the question of legacy. And in that particular, in the case of this play, questions of racism and how racism is a legacy that's handed down in an almost unknowing way. We only have a few minutes, I'm sorry to say, but I would love to open this up if anybody does have additional questions. And Josh, if you have another one, you're more than welcome to, rather than text it, you can raise your hand if you like. But yes, Ruthie.
What is, you said you weren't ready to play King here, but each of you, I'm curious to know, what is the one role that you really want to play as conflict and why it speaks to you?
A role you really want to play and why it speaks to you.
Well, if you're going to give Craig King Lear, I'll take James Tyrone in Long Beach.
Yeah, you come out of retirement, we'll do it right here for you.
Can I have the book? That's the part I've always wanted to play, James Tyrone.
But why?
Oh, why?
Oh, and why? Oh, because I respond to the play so much. Talk about flawed. I see myself in this bombastic, he's always on stage, even in his living room. And why don't you understand that, my children? This is who I am. Aren't you proud of me? Well, no, Dad, as a matter of fact,
I say Raisin in the Sun. I missed my chance to play. No, I turned down my chance to play Benita in favor of something that I thought would send my career forward, and it didn't. Benita, and I missed being in a room with these amazing Black actors in DC who are all still working and they're all my friends now. But it was at the African Continuum Theater Company, which some of you remember, yeah, doesn't exist anymore. But I turned it down in favor of something else. So I missed my chance to play Benita. I've aged out of Benita, unless we're going to do something fun with it. You know, I don't know, like
If Ian McKellen can play Hamlet.
That's right. Yeah, so I can still play Ruth. I can still play Mama. I just want to step into the world. That's all, really. I love to play.
There are several plays that I've done that I'd like another crack at. I find that sometimes I'll finish a play and then 6 months later I realize, oh man, I see it in a whole different way because I lived with it. But the one is Willie Lowe. I'd love another shot at that. I'm older. I've done Troy. You know, I've studied a little more, and I think I'd be even richer. I think the production was okay. I think it was good. But I think I'd do even better if I had another shot at it.
Careful what you ask for. I had a friend who played Willie 3 times, and the third time around, he said one night after the show he went to the nearby ATM, and it was broken. And his response to it was to sit down on the sidewalk and cry. Oh, God.
He really inhabited that role.
Yeah. Go again, but I'm not sure more than one more time.
Another question before we wrap up, anybody? Yeah.
So I'm wondering what you all think theater has to say about the American family that's different from what we see in movies and on Netflix. There was a little allusion to that earlier, of sort of, you know, movies and streaming shows are throwing a basket of drama at us and trying to keep us watching maybe week to week or episode to episode. So what can theater do with this theme that those other formats maybe miss?
Netflix can't suck the air out of a room, you know? Just in a conversation with people, not even in a play, when something is said that, like, just, we all know that something terrible was said or done or what have you, but maybe no one says anything, people freeze. There are things that you can pick up in people's physical forms, you know, tense hands, muscles freeze, mouth drops, you know, eyes go dull. You look at one person and you look away because if you look too long, then everybody will know you know what just happened. You don't want everybody to know, but like you look quickly. It's like all of those minute moments that we can all feel, like that, you know, if we weren't in this room, it would be colder, but because we're all here, we're warmer because we're like batteries and I can feel your heat. That if we all actually get hot together, you know, all of those things, Netflix can't do that. You know, AI can take a lot of things away, but it can't do that. Like literally suck the air out of the room, you know, where people aren't breathing, where you heard the person next to you breathing and now they're not. Yeah. Or, you know, I grabbed someone's leg once in the theater. I didn't know who they were, you know, they grabbed me back. So, yeah, you can't get that.
And now, he's your boyfriend.
That guy back there, I'm afraid of. We grab each other's legs. Anyway.
Beautifully said.
Yeah, that is beautifully said. Well done. Yeah.
And when you watch appropriate, yeah, no matter how many times you watch The Pit or whatever it is you're watching, and you go, oh my God, or oh, or whatever, so different from when all 150 of you go, oh, at the same, and there's about 4 or 5 of them appropriate. And because of the way we set this up, you get to watch the people on the other side. I'm really sorry that we are out of time, and I do have to hand the stage over to stage management to get ready, clean this place up. Actually, they need to make it look more dirty. This is the second act setup. But thank you guys. What a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I mean,